Hey there, algebra students. This week we are starting a unit on rational numbers and the real number system. But before we move into the real number system, I want to go back and just kind of review with you the four different classifications of rational numbers. Because that will help you make more sense of the real number system, and then moving into classifying numbers into the different categories. So this kind of goes back to last year when we were talking about rational numbers, and basically the number system is a way for us to classify. So the number system classifies. You can take notes on this if you want, or you can just watch and just use this as a refresher. This video will be available if you want to go back and replay it at some point. So the number system classifies numbers based on their type, the type of number, and its characteristics. So these are the four main classifications of what we call a rational number. Rational means that you can take the number and you can put it into a ratio of some kind, where you're comparing that number over the number 1, or over the number 100, where we can say, 375 out of 1,000, we're creating a ratio. So there's four different classifications, and last year when you talked about this, you probably learned that when we're writing out and classifying numbers, an easier way to do that is to think about these as each one of these four classifications as sort of an abbreviation. So anytime we're talking about whole numbers, when we're classifying a number, whole number is going to be classified with the letter W. A natural number will be classified with the letter N. Integers are classified by saying letter Z, and rational numbers are classified with the letter Q, because R means real. Q means rational numbers because it's a ratio, basically, and when we divide one number by another, we get a quotient. So if we're looking at these qualifications now, we're going to kind of go and define them, and that's going to help us as we move into the real number system. So whole numbers are the set of all positive counting numbers, and that starts with the number 0. So it's a set of all positive counting numbers, starts with 0. So the number 0 would be an example, 4, 18, 23. Any number that's positive, that's 0 or more, is an example of a whole number. Natural numbers are classified as the set of positive integers. So that would be numbers higher than 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, on and on, positive to infinity, are called natural numbers, and we classify them with the letter N. Integers are the set of whole numbers as well as their opposites. So let me give you some examples of that. So negative 5. So negative 5 and 5, negative 10, the number 10, also have that negative 3, 18. All those are examples of integers. Again, we classified that with the letter Z when we're classifying these numbers. Rational numbers, again, that's indicated with the letter Q, not R. R stands for real numbers. Rational numbers are numbers that can be written as fractions, terminating decimals, and repeating decimals. So we'll kind of review that as well as we go through this, how to figure out whether a number is terminating decimal or repeating decimal. So some examples of this would be negative 5 6/10. That's a terminating decimal. 3/4, of course, is a fraction. Even a mixed number, 3 and 1/6, would all classify as rational numbers. So that's kind of a a refresher as to what rational numbers is, and that's going to move us into our next lesson on the real number system. But before we do that, since I think that this might have been a unit that you probably covered at the very beginning of last year, I want to just start out by doing a little bit of a foldable with you, and one other handout that should be like a review handout for you all. So everybody's going to receive this rational versus irrational paper, and we are going to go through that together today, and just make sure that everybody really understands the difference between a rational number and an irrational number. We don't want to get started into the unit without really knowing what we're doing. So go ahead and pass this out, and then we will go over this to help us understand rational versus irrational numbers.